People podcast. I'm your host, Dax Vanderwall. This is season 1, all about the magic of generosity. And I'm here with Todd Thacker, the founder of Simply People. Todd, what has been your favorite episode so far? I don't know if you can remember them that specifically, but.
I kind of like the last one that we did.
Okay, episode 8.
Yeah.
Okay.
I loved it because it's all about heart, and that generosity can take on so many different things, and it's so easy to get. It's about second chances, and I really like that. Overall, though, I just think the journey of generosity is so rich, and the more I focus on it, the more excited I get about it, just because there's so much to it, and there's so many different angles on it than we would normally think.
The Magic of Generosity season 2, basically. That's what you just announced.
Is that
You're too excited. There's so much to talk about. You can't stop.
It may seem that I've told a lot of stories, but I have a lot of more stories. And what's crazy is I think, and that's part of the thing, is by being open and listening to the nudges and taking risk and taking an opportunity and not having to understand, these things keep happening. And, it's crazy. It's not something I saw for myself, and now I want it to keep happening because it's a lot of fun and extremely rewarding.
Yeah. And we will continue to have fun today as we talk about the gift of time, why generosity with time is oftentimes more than money, more impactful than money. And this is something we've talked about almost, I think, in every single episode, and something that we even talked about to the episode 0 trailer of this, is that generosity is more than money. We need to broaden our perspective and really understand that. I mean, generosity is forgiveness is a form of generosity. Yep. Grabbing coffee with someone, holding the door open, encouraging someone. This is all generosity. And so specifically, we wanted to talk about just the gift of time in general, just being available. So how does giving our time change the world?
Well, it's invaluable. And what it is taking time out. Honestly, if you're giving someone your time, then you're taking time out to notice them. You're allowing yourself to be interrupted and notice them. Yeah. And I don't know about you, but when I was a kid, and, I can remember a couple times we had student teacher, or, even when I was in high school, like a freshman or sophomore, and if a senior or somebody talked to me or whatever, it felt good. I was noticed, true. I was seen, and, just for me, I didn't have anything going for me necessarily. And I think that is truly part of the gift of time, and in mentoring kids, so many kids, and mentoring them, et cetera. It's taking the time to come alongside, taking the time to listen, to allow people to be seen, and to not bring any judgment to the table. And I often say that I don't think I say very many things differently than their parents probably, but I don't have the baggage. I don't have 18 or 20 years of whatever that relationship and that dynamics looked like. And I share my own stories, which I think is the important part of time, is actually allowing yourself to be vulnerable, because I think you're more relatable. And we all have a history. We all have a past. And it's very interesting. I had a difficult relationship with my dad. And so many of the kids that have gotten dropped in my lap have a difficult relationship with their dad. Yeah. And so I don't want people to see me today, like starting Simply People and who I am. I want them to see where I've been and the journey I've been on. I want them to invite them into that so that they can see the opportunity that that can be there for them too. An opportunity necessarily that I didn't see for myself. And again, that's a gift. It's a gift of time.
Yeah. Yeah. And time, that's vulnerability. Another, again, generosity that could just be being vulnerable. I love that. Yep. But that does take some time. It takes time to develop a relationship, to maybe be vulnerable, right, to get to that point. But yeah, I do think that I love this because it's not everyone has money or has the means to give in that way. Right. But literally everybody has time. We don't know how much, but we have it, and we know it's valuable, and we wouldn't trade anything in the world for it. Right. And so, yeah, this is huge. Right.
And I get kids, they'll say, well, I don't have time. I'm like, okay, great. Let me see your phone. Yeah. Let me see how much time you spent scrolling or doing this or doing that or whatever. Let me tell you a little story. It's really interesting. And this was before I was a Christian, but truly I would look back and say it was God fighting for me without me realizing it. So I grew up in Indiana, a little town, Wabash, Indiana. First electrically lighted city in the world. Shout out to Wabash.
Whoa, that's random.
Yeah, well, whatever. It's what we were known for. And anyway, in Indiana, Wabash, at least, junior high was 7th, 8th, 9th grade back then. And so we finished my 9th grade year, and then I was a big fish in a little pond. And then we moved to California, and I went to a school that was 3 times the size of what my school would have been in Indiana. And I started as a sophomore. So I was like second year of high school. I didn't know anyone.
Yep.
I ate lunch by myself every day. I think, honestly, I thought if I hated it enough that my parents were going to let me move back, and which was pretty naive because they weren't letting me move back. But anyway, somewhere in there, I remember thinking that I was on the bottom side of the coin, and that I had spent most of my life on the upper side of the coin, and I, got one of the top awards for my school in my junior high year, and then I moved and didn't know anyone, and so it felt like I had lived most of my life on the upper side of the coin. I was the underside of the coin. I remember thinking, I know I'm going to be on the upper side of the coin again at some point, and I don't want to forget what it feels like to be on the bottom side of the coin. And all these years later, so I was 15 years old, Dax, so that was, do the math, 50 years ago, a little bit more than that, honestly. Wow. And that I would look back and say it had a profound impact on my life. And that had a profound impact as me noticing people and giving them time and allowing myself to be interrupted and to try to drop myself in their shoes. And even if I couldn't understand, to have empathy. And so.
Yeah, I love that. It reminds me, I think we all probably have stories of just a moment where someone saw us and took time to ask us how we're doing. That's a lot of people's stories. Like, I just asked this person how they were doing at 7-Eleven at the gas station, and they started crying.
Right.
The reason that's so powerful and profound is because it's like, oh, wow, someone's taking their time and spending it in this way, spending the currency of time to be generous.
Right. Well, and not taking someone for granted, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think, I guess one of the obvious reasons why we don't feel like we have this time to spend is because we're just constantly in a rush. We're constantly distracted. There was that big Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. This was like 5 or 6 years ago, John Mark Comer, that book. And everyone was talking about, we just got to slow down. We just got to be turtles in our day to day. Do you feel like that's been true of you? Like you've had to sort of like slow down to be less?
No.
Or how have you started seeing this opportunity?
I don't think that's me. Most people think I'm an energizer bunny, not a turtle.
Yes, absolutely.
But what? And I've
speak to the people who aren't massive extroverts.
Okay, well,
that might be.
No, I'll speak to everyone. I'll say the people that aren't extroverts. When you're with it, like I was leading a mission trip to Nigeria, and this is probably, I don't know, the 8th time I've gone or something like that. And we were doing a debrief, and one of the kids was an introvert. I'm like, we're talking about the trip. He goes, Todd, your whole thing is you get motivated by people, and I need a break. And you gave me no break. And I was like, oh my gosh, I've done all these trips. You're the first person that's ever said that. I'm confident you're not the first person that felt that way, but you're the first person that said that. So I think the important thing for all of us is to realize we're all different. We're all wired differently. And in your journey of generosity, I'm not saying go be like Todd. I don't need you to, I'm not saying go on 20 international mission trips, open your home to 40 Thrive students. I'm not saying do any of that. What I'm saying is figure out what it is that you're called to do, and you go and do it. Do it for Dax or do it for whoever. Don't try to be like someone else. And then I think that will allow you to see things more easily and to be open. And truly, I talked about this before, but it was going to Nigeria and seeing the interaction of the people on the street. They had nothing. They have no money, but yet they would stop in Akwana, Lafayette, Nagajia, Bagajia, how was your night? How was your family? All these things. But and they would have the same conversation, but they weren't going through the motions. They were actually taking the time out to notice each other on their way. And that did have a profound impact on me. And again, I think that was something I watched. And so then I started in my dealings with people at the grocery store, the bank, or wherever, actually, before I asked whatever it was that I wanted, how are you doing today? But it was sincere too. I'm not just saying it for the sake of saying it.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that's good. I think it's almost while you're talking, it could even be an excuse. Okay. So like I wouldn't put anyone down or like say that giving money isn't good.
Oh, no.
But sometimes it's actually, that could be an excuse to not actually spend time with someone. Oh, well, I gave them $20.
Right.
Or I'm trying to think of a specific example. Well, even sometimes family, sometimes let's just use a random example that might hit close to home. I don't know. Because you talked about your complicated relationship with your dad. So many fathers out there would say, well, I'm providing for my family.
Right.
I'm paying for stuff.
Right.
Sometimes what would be even more beneficial or impactful is spending time with your kids.
Absolutely.
That's one that's probably very relevant for a lot of people.
Absolutely.
So sometimes giving money, that's almost the easy. Yeah, I'm generous. I just give money to things.
Right.
Okay. Amen. Praise God. That's awesome. But we can't use that as an excuse to not do.
That's right. And I don't think, and honestly, wow, you've opened a can of worms, quite frankly. and time's important. And it's interesting. And what I've learned from my own experience. Okay, so if my house had been on fire when I was a little boy, my dad was the president of a company, and we lived in a small town. I think I mentioned Wabash.
Wabash.
Yes, thank you. And
first city town with electricity? With electricity?
They have a really cool courthouse, and with a towered thing on top, and they did 4 electric lights on the top, and it lit it up a mile around.
Okay.
And that's how they became the first electrically lighted city.
Legendary. Wow.
Legendary, yes. But now, good job of getting me to lose my train of thought, Dax.
Sorry about that. Yeah.
Well, maybe that was me.
Talking about your father.
Yes. So thank you. Well done. So I believe that if my house had been on fire, I'm not sure it would have been safe for me to call my dad at the office and say, "Hey, Dad, the house is on fire." I'm not sure I would have felt like I could do that without being in trouble or something. But then I worked in the United States Senate in the 80s, and one of my mentors, he was the legislative director, and I, was a legislative assistant, worked on a variety of issues. But anyway, what was so interesting is Ken, his deal was, unless he was in with the senator, then if one of his kids called, he had 2 kids, if one of his kids called, his secretary was to bring him a note and let him know, and it would be his decision whether or not he took the call. And that was, so his generosity toward his kids had a huge impact on me and helped me see a different way from how I was brought up to believe was the right way to maybe do it. And so I've seen in many, and I want to encourage people, if you've had different or difficult experiences or whatever, the gift of time and watching other people and exposure to other people can help you see perhaps a different way or alternative approach that could work for you. I was a better dad because of that. And I would think that my kids would say one of the things I did was to give them the time to make the time. I was, busy, but like even little things like for much of my career, my company was on the East Coast and I live in California. And so if I had to go to the East Coast, most of my peers would fly during the day. I would work during the day, come home and have dinner, and then take a red eye out, because then that was one less night that I was gone out of my kids' lives.
Yeah.
And so there's a bunch of different approaches, and again, I just go back. I think time and sincere time, like truly noticing.
Yeah.
I think one of my concerns today with regard to time is people are buried in their phones, and parents, or they'll get their kids set up and, or the kids are playing games and, where's the communication? Or I'll talk to people. I'm like, did you talk to them? Like, yeah, I talked to them. I'm like, well, did you talk to them or did you text them? And I'm not bagging on any of that, but I want to encourage all of us, the power of time and the power of seeing people, the power of allowing ourselves to be interrupted and go for it in the moment.
Yeah.
I mean, another story. time.
Sure, go for it.
So I think I may have talked one of my brother's kids. She had breast cancer, and then 1 in 100 people have the BRCA gene, and 1 in 100 people that have that have this other bad situation. So anyway, Rebecca was going to die. And when I showed up at the hospital, I think I talked about that a little bit. But one of the things that she always said, she wanted to go dancing. And when are we going to go dancing? And I'm like, I don't know, and finally, and so I went down and gift of time. She lived 200 miles round trip. 400 miles round trip. And in 3 weeks, I went down to see her 6 times. And just because it was on my heart or whatever. And one of those times, I don't remember which one, but it was, I'm like, we're going to dance. And so she was in her hospital bed and she couldn't do whatever. She couldn't, get up and dance. But so we did swing dance, and I did took her hands and whatever and we played music and we started dancing. People heard the music, they came to see, and we were just doing it. And I don't know, we danced for a minute or 2 minutes or whatever, but it was me taken out to meet someone at their place of need. And it's just another example. Things don't have to make sense.
Yeah.
It's just being open, and I don't think, I know for a fact, it wasn't like I thought, oh, we're going to go there and we're going to dance today. She just had mentioned dancing one too many times, and that was the straw that broke the camel's back on dancing, I guess. And so, we put the music on and we danced, and it ended up being a very cool time.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And I do think that, memories, I don't know how much longer she lived after that.
A couple weeks, maybe.
Couple weeks.
Yeah.
I guarantee you,
less than that, probably 10 days.
I guarantee you, memories like that, moments like that of just spending time together were more impactful than any money you could have given.
Oh my God.
Right. Like that would have been nice. That would have been awesome. But like what? This just the things that we look back on when we're on our deathbed.
Right.
We could talk about that far. It's giving our time, spending time with loved ones is like the number one thing that people say.
But even not even just, yes, loved ones, yes. But I would say I want to broaden that. And what I've learned is too often I think we're focused on loved ones. And although a lot of times loved ones get overlooked too. However, like Uganda, when I went to Uganda and James and I got stuck there, we were there 11 days. We were supposed to be there 1. And we kept going back to the same restaurant. And it wasn't until I went back 3 years later and Najib was saying, Todd, you are different. No one ever noticed us. To everyone else, we were just waiters. And we were not only that, but we were, in his case, he was a Muslim. He was a Ugandan. He was brought up to believe that Americans don't care, all these different things. But because we invested the time that I could go back 3 years later and they all remembered me and I remembered them. And I remembered that he went swimming on Mondays. And that had a profound impact on him. And for James and I, or even, I said that we gave little cards to say goodbye, and it was like we given him money, like $100 or $500 or something like that. And all we had done though is given him time. And so we left the impact that had a ripple effect on them.
Yeah.
It's just, so you never know. And I think that's for me, again, that's part of the fun. That's part of the roller coaster. You just never know where it's going to be. And so it's really trying to just be open-minded. And the key, I think, to making the time or finding the time is remembering to allow yourself to be interrupted. Yeah. And I think that's a hard part because, I'm like, okay, I've got to get over here by this amount of time today to shoot this with you. And what am I missing on the way here? Then that could be any of us thinking that. But
yes, and I generously forgave you for being 10 minutes late today.
Thank you.
Just in case you're wondering.
Thank you.
I was pretty generous there.
I'll sleep better tonight.
Good. So we're talking about being generous with time, the gift of time. This is key to being generous.
Right.
It's really at the foundation of most forms of generosity. It takes time.
Right.
You mentioned a second ago, or a few minutes ago, that sincere time, specifically intentional time, which I do think is important. Just saying spending time, I spent time serving in that place. there's a possibility that our posture wasn't in the right place, that our focus wasn't in the right place. There's so much nuance, but it really does come down to intentional time. I love that. What does quality time look like? Some people's love language, by the way. What is intentional time? What is this quality? What makes it that next step of that next step?
I think the reality is truly being present.
Okay.
So like with Rebecca, I was present, and dancing was important to her, and I hadn't even thought about it.
You'd been listening to her say that.
That's right. That's right.
There's a want in her.
Yes.
Yeah. Desire.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's good.
I think in mentoring, I can hit kids pretty hard because I will listen to what they say. I don't have to I don't try to dominate the conversation. I really try to be a good listener. Wow. And I look at my gift of time as really helping them take the blinders off. And when we're talking about something, I don't want to figure it out. I want them to figure it out. Even if I've already figured it out, I want them to figure it out. But I want them to know that I've seen them. So what I'll say often is, here's what I heard you say. And if I got it right, then what about this, this, and this?
Right.
And
wow, I feel like you're being present with me. You're actually listening. You're hearing what I'm saying.
That's right. Yeah. Versus, I could be sitting in a coffee shop and the door's over there and you're sitting here. And every time that door opens, I could be staring over at that. And you're like, hello, I'm right here.
Sure.
And honestly,
you're gone mentally. You're thinking about work, thinking about a million other things.
Yep. And I've been guilty of that. I've definitely been guilty of that. And I've tried to get better at that. You've seen it after church service sometimes. And, the dozen kids want to say hi. And I'm trying to say hi to everyone. And I have found myself at times not being focused on who was in front of me. And that undermines it. And I think it's just a sincerity. It's like, we can all go through the motions, but people know, people can see the difference when they're not being taken for granted, when they're actually being noticed. And I think that and vulnerability are the things that allow you to leverage time and investment of time in a really powerful way. And that leads to super candid conversations and, so, and then I've noticed one of my favorite stories in Nigeria was, so we go there and patients, I've said this before, but patients don't have an appointment for the day. I mean, for a specific time, they have an appointment for the day. So in the morning, you can have 250 patients all in the waiting room. And so I invested the time to learn some Hausa, which is the primary tribal language for the people that go to the Faith Alive Clinic. And so, so in addition to time, the other thing was I was willing to not freak out about every hand that I shook was different. So I could have a cold, sweaty hand. I could have someone that's coughing and I'm shaking their hand. I didn't worry about germs. I didn't worry about any of that kind of stuff. I tried to be in the present. I tried to I would try to go down the list and shake every single person's hand. I would try to look them in the eyes. I would try to smile at them and I'd be like, Inakwana, Yaya Jaki, Yaya, and I'm going to get it wrong, but Yaya Jaki is, I think, how are you feeling? And Yaya Jiki is how's your donkey? So I would go down the list and like 2 or 3 people, and I'm loudish. 2 or 3 people when I'm doing it, Yaya Jiki, Yaya, whichever one is how are you feeling? And then I would get to, like the 4th or 5th person. I'm like, Yaya Jaki, how's your donkey? And they would be, like, no, you're wrong. Jiki. I'm like, donkey. And like I was riding a donkey. But I had figured out how to connect with them, even though we're living vastly different lives and I really can't speak their language. But I took the time to figure it out, to connect with them. And I brought them, they're not feeling well. They're not happy that they're there because of AIDS or whatever their ailment is. And yet here's a dude that's come from America that's willing to take the time and not only come, but take the time and try to greet each of them personally.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're not a doctor.
No.
So you could have been like, well, I can't heal these people.
Right.
I don't have that training. What can I do? I can learn some of their language and share some jokes with them.
Right.
And
right.
yeah,
And
that
the
was
universal, love is universal. Laughter is universal.
Yeah.
I think people sometimes take their faith too seriously and don't realize. I mean, I believe Jesus had an amazing sense of humor, and I think that we're supposed to have a really good time, and that is a compliment to. And again, that's a way that there's all these different ways to be real and connect with people. You can share humor, you can share time, you can share eye contact. In this instance where people are sick and a lot of people didn't want to shake hands, I was just, I would go wash my hands as soon as I was done, but they wouldn't see that.
Yeah.
But in the moment, I was trying to be as present and connect with them in a way that worked for them, as opposed to a way that works for me. And I think that is the real gift of time. And again, it goes back to being interrupted, but even taking it further, how can I meet them? How can I come alongside someone in their place of need?
Yeah.
I was going to say the kid at Topgolf that I called out but I stopped him where he was and was willing to talk to him and willing to challenge him. And, he made it a screensaver that, and it had an impact on someone's life. Someone I noticed or thought about.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think a simple step for this, the more and more I think about it, the presence thing is hard. Being present in a moment to see these opportunities. We live in probably the most distracted society of all time, which we've kind of talked about a little bit, but Satan just wants to distract us. He just wants us to miss opportunities. He doesn't even need us to go whatever the opposite route is,
Right. No, you're absolutely
if
right.
we're just busy enough to just miss this. Yeah.
But the flip side of that is you're saying that, I thought of something that has happened quite a bit of times. Okay. So I do get from time to time the gift of discernment. So I had someone that I met, and I'd never met him before, and we're just talking. I'm like, dude, how's your family? And he's like, oh, my family's great. And I'm like, okay. So we're chit-chatting a little bit. And again, I just met him. He was a Thrive kid. And there was a thing in my house. And I'm like, dude, how's your family? He goes, my family's great. And then I did it a third time, and he's like, yeah, my family's great. I'm like, okay. So that's the first time I met him. Don't see him again. Then maybe, I don't know, 2 months later, if I was at a Thrive thing or he just hit me up or whatever, he's like, hey, can we get together and can we talk about my family? And I'm like, sure. But there's a situation where it was on my heart to ask him about that. It was the same thing like when I had the Topgolf kid and I asked him about sex. I wasn't thinking of that. That just popped in my head, and that's what spilled out. And in the Topgolf one, the kid's like, oh my gosh, I prayed about that last night. You're the answer to that prayer. And, whatever. The kid that with the how's your family, he wasn't ready to talk about it, or he was afraid to talk about it, or he's afraid to open up about it, or whatever. Or maybe he felt it wasn't safe because I just met him. I don't know. But so it works both ways. We can miss opportunities because we're not being interrupted, or we can allow fear. If someone's try to come alongside us or whatever, we can allow fear to stop us too. Wow. I had a guy in Nigeria. This is kind of a cool story that he was the architect and who helped build the Faith Alive Clinic. And we had become pretty good friends. And he was always trying to give me stuff. And while by Nigerian standards, he was doing quite well. In my mind, my ego, I guess, my pride, I didn't want to take things from him because I felt that, I had more than he had. And, it was out of respect, quite frankly. But finally, after the third or fourth time of me refusing him, he says, Todd, do you like to help people out? And I'm like, yeah, I love it a lot. And he's like, so do I. And every time you tell me no, you deprive me of the opportunity to do something that you enjoy too. And it was really a great comment, because here's what someone was trying to, in this instance, he was trying to give me something, but he was also trying to invest time in me, invest in me as a person. And I was shutting down an avenue of that out of good intent, not, but I was missing opportunity. And that was a really cool thing. So I think in a lot of these things where we may miss opportunity or, in time and things like that, that those are all opportunities. Again, you've asked before, don't ever beat yourself up because you miss it.
Yeah.
The goal is to learn from it, see it. And, I've seen people on the side of the road and I'm like, oh, I need to stop. I don't stop. I go back 5 minutes later, they're gone. And what did that do? That reminded me next time that I need to actually allow myself to be interrupted and go do, whatever I feel I'm being asked to do.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
That was a good example. I think for some people might maybe wondering about opportunity in general.
Right.
Maybe you're listening, you're like, okay, cool. I'm down. I'm down to spend my time more. But like, what would this look like? I think a great way to actually open doors, if you want to be proactive and find opportunities to be generous, tell the people in your life, hey, I would love to help you more. I would love to support you. Let me know if you need anything. I know some people have done that. I mean, you've definitely said that to me over the years. And so I know, okay, Todd is willing to be available and make time to support me if I need that.
Right.
So literally tell the people in your life that. Tell
and
your kids,
support you
tell
in
your
a variety
partner,
of ways.
Tell your friends.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
They could literally be,
Right.
hey, I know you're in a really busy season, stressed out at work. Let me know if there's anything else I could do around the house to help you. I mean, this could look so many ways, but maybe be proactive, put yourself out there and say, hey, just let you know, I'm here to help.
Right.
And that'll absolutely open doors in some way.
Right. And I think it also can be even simpler than that. And I've had people that have just texted me and said, hey, I'm thinking of you. You're on my heart today, and then just hit me up and send a text. And I've had things that I'm going through. I had a thing, this is crazy. I had a thing last year with work, and I was trying to get this, a leadership role. And, I had, there was a vote, although, there was vote, and I got 2/3 of the vote compared to someone else's third of the vote. And the other person ended up getting appointed and whatever. And it was hard for me. And, my prayer in those things is God open doors, close doors, but still I'm human and sometimes it's hard. And I was struggling with it. And I'm like, God, I just need someone to reach out to me. And so I'm at the gym, which is like 10 minutes from my house or whatever. And I just prayed that. And when I got home, I checked my phone and Dr. Chris from Nigeria had reached out to me. I had a text and it was just like, and he sent me a devotional, and it was, I don't remember exactly, but it was like a Proverbs 3, 5, and 6, lean not on your own understanding, but trust in the Lord and he will set your path straight or something like that. And it was exactly, and it was, but I asked and God answered, and it was just a really cool thing. So I think there's a lot of different ways for opportunity to manifest, and certainly, my perspective's been broadened significantly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this has been episode 9 of the Simply People podcast. Well, of season 1, The Magic of Generosity, the gift of time. And as we end this episode, Todd, is there any final encouragement that you want to give to someone, or a reminder about how generosity is more than money and how just spending time with people could be? Well,
I think a really easy way, if you're looking for time and how to spend your time or what to do, look at your talents too. Where's your time?
That's good.
What are your talents? And often I think if you can want to leverage your talents, etc., then that'll make it easier to find the time and make the time. And truly, I think it's your heart. It's a heart posture. So it's hard. It's time, but your heart posture, align your heart posture and your talents, then your time's going to open up. And when you do use time, it will be something, like I said, so often when I come along someone, I mean, I with all these kids that have lived with me or all these kids that I've mentored, I've had kids that make no sense. Dax, you and I we aligned fairly easily, and we had, it made sense.
Yeah.
But I've had skater kids and this and that and the other that make no sense at all. And
you know, on a skateboard?
I have been on a skateboard.
In Wabash, Indiana?
Yeah, very little. They were very rudimentary way back then. We did a lot of sledding though, which was super fun. I had my flexible flyer. But this kid made no sense to me, and yet it's made perfect sense. And he's someone that lived with me, and all these years later, we're still in very good touch. So we can judge for ourselves and rule people out. Chad, like I said, darkest, most hollowed out person I ever met. and yet that someone that had a profound impact on me. So those kind of things have broadened my eyes that there is opportunity, and often it's where I've had my own hurts, that God will bring people that I can make it relatable in that way. And it's often in things where I can be passionate about that I can come alongside somebody and give them the gift of time. And then the flip side of it is what's really crazy is every time we do that, there's something in it for us too. And I don't think that we do it for that, but that's the faithfulness of God. And I've never been let down. And, you know, even with that thing I was just talking about where I didn't get what I wanted, the door closed, and I've had so many other things go that in place of that. And so it ends up being a really cool experience, and helps me see, you know, that I can trust the things that when I pray for things, I can trust it. I can trust the result. I don't have to understand it, but I can trust it. And I think that's what I would say with time and giving people time. Don't think that you have to understand why that person, why this moment, why any of that. If you go through that analysis, whatever that is, you're going to miss that. And I told this story, I think, in the 0 episode about the girl that stood on the head. You know, she did it 5 minutes to 9, and the guy said if someone hadn't come by 9 o'clock, he was going to kill himself. And it made absolutely no sense. And yet she allowed herself to be interrupted, gave the time. I'm not sure if headstands were a talent of hers or not, or a passion, but she did give the time, and that ended up saving someone's life. And in that process changed her life as well. And so that, I think, is the value and the surprise, I guess, if you will, of time. And it's like all these different experiences, dude, they weren't on my radar screen at all. I didn't see this kind of life for me. I didn't see doing all these things. And now that's how it's all evolved, I can't imagine not doing it. And that's why we're doing a generosity thing. And that's why we're taking the time to do a generosity podcast, because this is an amazing secret that we want everyone to know and everyone to experience and everyone to realize that they can make generosity an inherent aspect of their life. And it's a lens through which I try to approach every day, so that I can align my heart, align my time, align my talent, and, you know, we can worry about resources. But again, let's say you never gave a cent. If you could figure out how to be generous with your heart, how to be generous with your time, and how to be generous with your talent, no one's going to need your money, because those things are amazing. And again, what it's going to bring to you. You know, I was living I was living what I thought, I was living by the world's standards of success. So that all looked good on paper, but I am telling you, ever since I liberated my heart, liberated my time, and liberated my talent, which ultimately has also helped liberate my wallet. But again, I don't think I have to liberate my wallet to live this rich life that, and the consequences. And we talk about ripple effect. Look at all the kids I've invested the time. And now you guys are out there, you're getting ready to go do a master's program and chase a ministry that could have a profound impact. And no, that's not because of Todd, but I did come alongside you, and, you know, I was a straw in Dax's journey that helped him and this and that. And when we do that, those ripple effects, it can be super profound. And that's like with Simply People. We want people to see, if you take any small action forward, we want you to see that how that may have changed someone, that may have altered a life. And so that can inspire you to do more and be more. And that collectively, you know, we can be the change that the world needs. Not any one individual is going to have to do that, but we can do that together.
Yeah. Amen. We all have time we can be more generous with. We all have talents that we can be more generous with. Again, that's also very, very practical of, what talents do you have? I love that. If you're good at landscaping,
right,
cool, you can be generous with that. Even if you don't feel like you have the financial means to give right now. That's a gift that you have. That's a talent that you have, and you can be generous with that. And so I'm just going to pray that that we can all just have opportunities this week and moments where we can just be available and let ourselves be interrupted and be generous in that way. So absolutely love that. This has been episode 9 of The Magic of Generosity. Only one episode left. So I would just say right now, as we are about to close the journey, one more episode, go to Simply People on Instagram and tell us what your favorite moment has been, what your favorite episode has been so far. And we would love to hear from you. And thank you for being on this voyage with us. I didn't say Odyssey or voyage or.
I like voyage.
I'm going to need more synonyms. Oh, escapade. I actually did have escapade written down. I didn't say that.
But you didn't say it.
But thank you for joining us on this escapade of generosity. And we'll see you in the last episode.
I'm glad we had time for you to fit that in.
Oh, I'm thankful too. That was
See
great.
what I did there?
I did.
Yeah.
Thank you for another bow. Bow's out. Well, thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.